Hello and welcome to the Snap UK podcast, your weekly review of all things NFL by those in the know on this side of the pond. It's nice to have it written down this week. I've earned a little less than I did last week, but I'm Johnny Thrash. And on this week on the pod, it is myself, Jimmy G, 4 foot inches, and Griff. Wildcard weekend did not disappoint, with all 4 games finishing as 1-score wins. And on top of all the drama, we have the fallout from Black Monday and coaching carousel kicks into gear. So shall we start, as the NFL did, with the AFC games from Saturday? So first up was Bills and the Texans, and 2 young quarterbacks who have long and bright futures ahead of them, but whose gameplay took differing turns in the match.
The important thing for me with this is I think at halftime somebody went into the Bills locker room and went, "Remember, you're the Bills. You're in the playoffs. You suck."
We've not won a playoff game since 1995. We're not starting now.
The owner came into the locker room to tell them this was a franchise built on mediocrity. I will not have success.
Yeah, so the Bills being 16-0 up sort of imploded, really. I mean, well, Josh Allen imploded.
Yeah.
And suddenly the Texans woke up because the Bills had this game in the bag for the first 3 quarters of the game, really. It wasn't even a half time. It was... it wasn't until I think the last 5 minutes of the third quarter and then the fourth quarter which the Texans decided to play football. Apparently it's because JJ Watt had a sack. I think it's because the Bills took their foot right off the gas and weren't aggressive enough when it came to some of those fourth down plays on the goal line where they settled for field goals. They could have gone for touchdowns and would have been an even bigger lead.
I think it's the thing that surprised me afterwards was the coverage in the media and the NFL's Instagram account and Check Down and all these different places. Why are people still surprised Deshaun Watson is really, really good?
Yeah, I don't get that.
He's on course to have a better quarterback rating in his first 3 seasons than Kurt Warner.
Kurt Schwarmer?
Podcast favourite Kurt Schwarmer.
Yeah, well, no, I don't get it, because... He's just brilliant. He's got great receivers as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I saw the same thing. I thought.
So the only thing on Saturday was the Bills' defense was playing really, really well. Like that pass rush, they were getting at Deshaun Watson, and he was struggling.
7 sacks.
Yeah,
7 sacks. Yeah.
But he is 6-0 in career games against teams ranked top 5 in pass defense.
Yeah. He's got a career out of being sacked repeatedly every game.
He should be used to it by now. I mean, yes, they made the big
like Jenna Jameson.
Yeah,
no, but he's a little bit, like Archie Manning was the most sacked player of the 70s. I have no doubt that Deshaun Watson in the last 5 years had been the most sacked player.
Yeah, and I think if you looked at Twitter through the first 3 quarters of this game, there was basically everyone was. And me included, was calling for Bill O'Brien's head because they'd done a massive trade for Larry Tunsil, and it was seemingly made no difference at all in that game in the first 3 quarters because the Bills were just in his face the whole time. He didn't stand a chance, and that's not on Deshaun Watson. I think my one kind of nagging feeling about Deshaun Watson is he runs and escapes out of the pocket a bit, but I'd like to see him run forward a little bit more like Josh Allen does, like Lamar Jackson does. He stays behind that scrimmage line looking for a pass, and sometimes it'd be better off just to sprint down the
That's how he started, wasn't it? He was what Lamar was.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I had him in that first year of fantasy. He was tearing the league apart.
But
when he went down injured, he teared your hopes apart.
Yeah.
He was the 6th most sacked quarterback in the league in the regular season.
Do you know that he is only 2nd now behind Matt Sharp in passing yards in the playoffs for the Texans? He overtook the previous number 2. Do you want to have a guess who that was?
TJ Yates?
No.
Osweiler.
Carr.
Yes.
Oh,
Brock
God.
Osweiler. There you go. There's another reason for him disappearing into mediocrity. Look, let's not downplay this. Josh Allen fell apart in the final quarter of this game and went full Jameis.
He went
full Jameis. He was just throwing the ball out there.
I think he was double James. It wasn't just the throws; it was the
double Jameis.
It was he got 92 yards on 9 carries in total. He was running all over the field.
45 yards on an opening rush.
Yeah.
Wasn't it, to start the game.
But then in that fourth quarter, where he made that run down the right-hand side of the field, and then inexplicably just decided to try and lateral it to a tight end, and completely ballsed it up. Just take the hit, go down. It would have been fine. They had plays on hand, and then also he was they were trying to score they were in field goal range. One more play, they probably weren't going to get the first down, so it's 3rd and long, and he went back all the way past halfway and took another sack. It was unbelievable. Well, implosion.
I do think the J.J. Watt return was important because this Texans defence was fired up on the basis that they knew he was risking his body basically by coming back about 6 weeks earlier than most people come back from that injury to be out there, and it paid off because he was in the quarterback's face on most plays. He was having to be double teamed. That's Jenna Jameson again. And basically, they tried to put a rookie tackle against him, didn't they?
Yeah.
And the guy was just getting
Ford, is it?
Cody Ford.
He was just getting absolutely destroyed every
time.
time.
He got taken off,
Yeah.
and then JJ Watt switched to the other side to take apart that tackle.
You're like, the guy's a wrecking ball, and it paid off, and it could have had serious consequences because if he'd got re-injured, then this team isn't the same. So it's
what I was going to say is that the Bills are still a very inexperienced team, and they're a very good team.
Yeah.
They get to if New England disintegrates like everybody's hoping, let's be honest.
Well, they have been.
Not everyone, I don't think.
We're going to get to them in a minute.
75% of this table.
The Bills are now a genuine threat, and you can look at next season and say they're going to be a threat again.
I think they're going to be a good team because they're going to keep a lot of those players. I was really impressed with Devin Singletary, both in the passing and the running game as well.
He will be the number one back there.
Yeah, definitely.
And he needs to be. He needs 15 touches a game minimum.
But in the draft, all they have to do is just stack weapons for Josh Allen to throw to. I mean, if DeAndre Hopkins would have been on the Bills, I think we'd have been looking at completely different...
How good was the pass from John Brown, by the way, to the wide open Josh Allen?
It was brilliant.
A few times,
He's done it a couple,
But the thing is, those wide receivers, John Brown and Cole Beasley, they're not wide receiver ones. They're 2, 3, 4. They need a big, strong number one wide receiver like DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe they can go out and get AJ Green.
What they need is Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, that's
exactly what they need. Look,
and maybe a decent tight end.
He did pull the double
Dawson
Jameis.
Knox.
Yeah, I like Dawson Knox. He's an upgrade on who they've had before. But he did go double Jameis. But what is he? 2 years in?
Yeah,
like first playoff game. No big deal. Come back. He's going to be better.
I was going to say he'll learn from it as well, and he'll come back a better quarterback. The improvement he's had from year 1 to year 2 has been unbelievable. We said it a couple of weeks ago. He's the best quarterback out of that quarterback class from a couple of years back now with Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen.
Yeah, well, Lamar
Jackson was in there.
But the two of them are way ahead of the rest.
Exactly.
You think that's his first playoff game, isn't it?
Yep.
The Eagles quarterback for most of their game was deciding which college to go to when Josh Allen was born.
Yeah.
So
he's got a lot to learn, but that quarter they should just play that on repeat for him in the off season now and say these are all the things you don't do because the rest of the game you were perfect.
Surely I don't understand why there wasn't a coach on the sideline just telling him to calm down because he looked flustered. He looked like he'd lost it, and there just needs to be a bit of coaching. There's been a lot about the offensive coordinator Brian Dable interviewing with the Cleveland Browns. If he's going to go there, he needs to be able to talk to players and calm them down, and especially if he's going to go there and he's got a quarterback like Baker Mayfield, he needs to talk him down off the edge because you can't have implosions to that extent. But you're right, this is his first playoff game. 3/4 of the game, he was brilliant. He'll be good next year, and we're going to come on to it. But realistically, the Bills could be the time that the AFC East goes to another team.
Well, should we go on to the second wildcard game? It was the sound of a dynasty falling to its knees, reverberating around the city as the Patriots exited the playoffs at the earliest stage for the first time since
2009.
2009. We all predicted it as well. Basically.
I didn't. I thought the Pats would win.
I predicted the Titans would win.
I like football.
But it has been. It has been coming. The juggernaut that the Patriots have been. They just weren't the same team this year.
Yeah, I expect we'll talk about Tom Brady, but there was a really good piece in Peter King's article on Monday, Football Morning in America, and he mentioned that Belichick has basically made a career out of taking away the strengths of the other team, and especially in the running game, where even the Super Bowl last year, where he completely nullified Todd Gurley. Completely, and who was the other running back they had there?
CJ Anderson.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Super Bowl playing 1,000-yard rusher CJ Anderson.
Yeah, we all
Future
knew
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, future Hall of Famer, surely. We all knew what the Titans' game plan was going to be coming into this match. It was going to be Derrick Henry running through people. The guy's 6'3". He's huge, and they didn't contain him. He had 34 carries for 182 yards and a touchdown.
It's like watching me play Madden.
Yeah,
When I've got one of my only good players a running back, I'm just going to run it up the gut.
there's like literally one play which you keep going to,
Yeah.
and you might deviate to another play once or other. But as soon as you need that third down conversion, we're going back to that halfback draw.
Oh yeah,
I'm not saying that New England didn't have a good game in the run, but New Orleans' third choice quarterback had 11 less running yards than Sonny Michel.
he's been disappointing though this year, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Like not just even this game, like the whole year. Sonny Michel's been a huge disappointment because he was great last year.
Super Bowl winning 1,000-yard rusher Sonny Michel.
Yeah, I thought this year coming off because last year he started injured and he still got 1,000 yards and looked great. This year he just looked
very mediocre
mediocre.
at best. I sense a tirade coming from Griff.
No, there's no tirade. The reason all the running backs have been not as good this year is because in week 1 or 2 we lost James Devlin, who's the best fullback for blocking in the NFL, and he was replaced by, I want to say, Jacoby. Anyway, some
Myers?
random who was also very good for a couple of weeks, and he got injured. And now we're using a linebacker to play fullback, and it's not the same.
Landon Roberts, the linebacker.
Yeah, and Sonny Michel and Rex Burkhead require a fullback in front of them, and then they are very good. And without Devlin, the running game has not taken off this season, and that has meant that we've had an over-reliance on Tom Brady, who is 42 and no longer elevates players, which I said 2 weeks ago. Brady isn't the problem. The problem is the lack of talent and the lack of a replacement for Gronk, which we also have said before.
Yep.
You can still win a Super Bowl with Tom Brady. What you can't do is win a Super Bowl with Tom Brady without Bill Belichick. And the problem the Patriots are going to have now is Belichick wants to move on from Brady and won't be allowed to by Kraft. And Belichick is more likely to leave, in my opinion. The fact that we're going to get onto the Giants appointing a coach is the only thing that makes me think maybe Belichick will stay, because I think there is a limited number of jobs he would take, and the Giants was one of them.
Go back to Cleveland, where it all started.
Maybe, because that roster is talented. But
we could do with a great head coach.
We are now in a power struggle because Brady doesn't want to retire, Kraft doesn't want him to leave, and Belichick wants to move on. He didn't want to let Garoppolo go. He doesn't believe that an immobile quarterback can be protected for long enough anymore. And unless they're prepared to say Tom Brady can have a 3-year contract, a definitive 3-year contract, and we will build around him again. Because this team isn't one draft away from winning the Super Bowl.
No.
This is a 2-year thing now.
Yeah, easily. I mean, there's
The offense is that bad.
there's fixes that need to be made on the offensive line, and he just needs some weapons around him. He was 7 of 21 when he was throwing to wide receivers on Saturday, and that was because the wide receivers aren't good enough.
It doesn't help that Edelman's been banged up half the year, but the reason he's banged up is because he has an overly large workload.
And also, he's what 33.
Yeah, he's been around a long time. Mohamed Sanu didn't pan out.
No,
It just hasn't worked. The young guy, N'Keal Harry, is in and out of games, drops the ball too much.
He's
only come
playing.
back
He's
from
playing
an
like a
injury.
rookie.
like it's
wide
what
receiver,
his
isn't he?
4th, 5th game in
And
the NFL.
This is a
and
team
Matt
that could-
Lacoste at tight end. Ben Watson has been a decent player in every other game, but isn't showing up week to
But then
week.
there's also a massive failure of not replacing Gronk. So Gronk retires. They don't draft a tight end. They trade away Jacob Hollister, who's turned into a great tight end in Seattle now. And then N'Keal Harry, who, yes, he's a big wide receiver, similar stature to a tight end, but he's injured for 3/4 of the season.
Sooner or later, the Patriots were going to misstep, and they've misstepped in a big way. It's not beyond salvage, but let's just take it for what it is. Teams that are great for a long time, sooner or later, will fall a little bit, because when you're held to that higher standard, it's impossible to keep that up all the time. And so they have tripped and fallen, and you've got to dust yourself off, but make the decision now, within the next few weeks. Brady's here for 3 years, or Brady's not here. That has to be it. There can be no season to season, because you've got to know what you're building on. And that is the only way. Belichick, I don't think, wants Tom Brady.
I wouldn't
I don't
think so.
think he does either.
And I don't know why Tom Brady is carrying on, because he's got Tom Brady the brand, TB12. And if he is struggling like he is, then that brand is just going through the...
He clearly doesn't believe that he's the problem. But he also doesn't want his last pass, pick six, a walk-off pick
I
six.
just don't think that matters. Not when you've got, 6 Super Bowl rings?
Yeah.
I think it does matter to someone
Come
like
on,
him.
I mean, it's one pass in a career that was actually
But it'll be
littered
the
with
pass that's on the
I
highlight
know.
reels.
But he beat Peyton Manning, and for me, that's the clincher.
Yeah.
Because there's always been that rivalry between him and
Yeah.
Peyton, hasn't there? And now he's beating him for yards, he's beating him for touchdowns.
I would be
think
happy.
he's done.
I would be happy if Brady called it a day, as long as we kept Belichick.
I think most Patriots fans and probably most people within the Patriots organisation would be happy for him to retire and then to move on. I think
Or
that's
even just
almost-
to move on. Like,
I mean, that's just-
let him have a year in LA, which is,
I think most would rather he just retired and they just
Favre
move on.
outside of a Packers uniform
It just
and
didn't look
Montana
right.
outside of
Yeah.
a Niners uniform is not
Oh, yeah,
right.
yeah.
But he
Even-
looks bad. So I
Even
don't,
Johnny
I don't-
Unitas had a season in San Diego.
Yeah, I
and
don't
that
want
was
him to
just
go
wrong.
somewhere else, but that's fine as long as he's not on our team, and that's a decision that's made. But I would like to know, like, now. I don't want this dragged out all through the summer. Is he coming back? Is he not? Because
Well,
it's going to be.
this is going to be at least up to the free agency.
Yeah.
It's,
But you have
it's
to be
not good.
You have to be careful with, because if you draft someone, they're the new Tom Brady.
No one is the new Tom Brady, and this is the thing. The team has got to be built around
But there's going to be
what Belichick
Yeah.
can use now.
And there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks that are going to be free agents, and
Phillip
who will
Rivers.
be able to who will be trade targets as well. So Teddy Bridgewater, that's the perfect quarterback for Bill Belichick. He's not a flash. He can move around in the pocket. He is accurate. He does know how to play the game. He's got experience. If Brady is to leave, be it retirement or to move on, I reckon they can make a massive play to go out and get Bridgewater, at least for a couple of seasons, and draft someone maybe this year. Because they're drafting at 23. It's like the earliest I think they've drafted in God knows how long.
Since 2010.
Yeah. And it's a good opportunity to pick up not one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft, but maybe someone a little bit further down, Justin Herbert or
Jake Fromm.
Jake Fromm.
They
if
should
it comes
absolutely
out.
do that if they get the chance. Even if Brady stays, they should absolutely do that.
Yeah, I think they definitely
Now-
have to take a quarterback.
That
got
is,
Jarrett
that
Stidham.
is, yeah. He looks very promising, but they put him in the game earlier in the season. He threw a pick when he wasn't supposed to make that play, and Belichick took him immediately out of the game, and we have never seen him in a game since.
So he's got into the same place Jonas Gray is.
Pretty much.
The Patriots abyss.
Can we now credit the Tetons? Because
God,
yes.
yeah.
because it wasn't just Derrick Henry. He was the battering ram. He was the reason they scored the points. But the game was masterfully coached by Vrabel, who incurred penalty after time-wasting penalty and watched Belichick slowly dissolve into a mess on the sideline. And Tannehill did not have a great statistical game, but was so calm and composed throughout this game. And he is the player out of all the quarterbacks since Peyton Manning with the most victories against Tom Brady.
Brilliant.
5 victories. And how long has he been in the league? Since 2011?
Yeah, it's the same year that Andrew Luck and RG3
That was the 2012 draft.
2012.
Right.
So in that time, nobody has accrued more wins against the Patriots than Tannehill. And, he's going to get paid. Henry's going to be a hero. They were brilliant.
They both need to be paid.
Yeah.
You can't let them go.
It's a winning combination.
Yeah.
I think you kind of forget sometimes, because there is a lot of quality in the Tetons division, how good this Tetons team is.
Yeah.
There are some quality players in nearly every position. Kevin Byard would get into most teams in the league. Logan Ryan is a fantastic cornerback. Jeffrey Simmons and Jarrell Casey. Jeffrey Simmons is a decent rookie. Jarrell Casey is great.
Rashaan Evans, the linebacker, he had 2 or 3 tackles when I think the Patriots were 4. Well, they're on the goal, basically on the goal.
Yeah, on the goal line.
First and maybe. It was first and goal, but it was maybe 2-3 yards to go. Twice, Rashaan Evans dived through the line and tackled the player for a loss. He ended up with 3 tackles.
Didn't we have 6 plays inside the 10-yard line and only end up with field goals both times? And this is the problem. We're a field goal offense.
But that's when you haven't got a player like Gronkowski, who's massive.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no mismatch. And Goskowski. You haven't got any of your Kowski.
Yeah,
exactly. No Kowskis. This was the problem.
Yeah.
Lack of Polish surnames, apart from Belichick. He's Croat.
The thing I like about the Tetons is they have weapons for Tannehill. AJ Brown will be one of the best wideouts in the league in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Corey Davis is decent.
Decent number 2.
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah. Jonnu Smith is an okay tight end.
Jonnu Smith is going to be the reason Delaney Walker finally has to retire.
Yeah.
Because I think Jonnu Smith's been better than anyone's given him credit for. He's been overshadowed because he's been good while Henry's been good.
He's been...
by the way, if I was the Patriots and I couldn't find a tight end I'd like, I would go and tap up Delaney Walker and say, how about one more season here? Because he's still a good player.
Do you remember how we laughed at Adam Humphries picking the Titans over the Patriots at the beginning of the season?
The thing is, Adam Humphries has not contributed to this team at all.
No, but what the Patriots would do to have someone like that in their team on Saturday.
But, I mean... Let's not forget as well, if Vrabel hadn't made the call to drop Mariota, if they'd have done it 2 weeks later, they wouldn't be here.
No, if they'd done it 2 weeks earlier, they'd also be playing probably next week rather than this week.
True.
Just gone. But it's been a great call, and the Tannehill trade has worked out exactly as I said it would. Hooray!
Yeah, if he hadn't made the call, they've been playing Pittsburgh now, and the Patriots would have won, and we wouldn't be having this conversation.
There we go.
Right, so that is the AFC wildcard. So you want to have a look at the divisional weekend matchups. Titans at Ravens, Texans at Chiefs. Who's predicting the outcomes in these games?
I'm gonna say Ravens Chiefs.
I'm gonna say Ravens Texans.
Texans did beat Chiefs earlier this year, didn't they? In Kansas, but I'd say the Chiefs have improved a lot since then. The bye week's always tricky, isn't it? 'Cause there's a whole thing about momentum where you start in the playoffs or the end of the season, you're winning games, and you kind of go into the next game, you win, you go into the next game, you win. You have a week off, and we've seen it a lot during regular seasons. I remember the Broncos a couple of years ago were 3-0 going into an early bye and came back, and they were just terrible.
Yeah.
But that was when they had Simeon.
Yeah, I know. I use that as an example because the only one I could think of off the top of my head. But who's to say the Chiefs or the Ravens don't come back into the playoff a little bit cold because they had a couple of weeks off, especially the Ravens rested most of their starters in week 17, so they've had 2 weeks off. So there's a big risk that one of those teams could come in literally quite cold because both stadiums are pretty cold. I didn't actually pick any of them.
I think the Chiefs will handle the Texans reasonably easily because I think they're rounding into form. The defense is showing up. Mahomes has had an extra week to get fitter. I think the Chiefs will take care of business without too much trouble. I actually think there's a case to be made for the Titans upsetting the Ravens in Baltimore.
That I can see that being the closest of the two games, but I still think the Ravens will have enough.
I really want to pick the Titans. So I'm going to pick the Titans, even though I know I'm going to regret it. The Ravens are the best team left in that conference, but I'll take the Titans because I just think it could be a bad matchup for the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's probably going to be the closest one.
It's going to be so much rushing in that game. It's going to be two teams absolutely battering the opposing line.
But I think whoever wins that game will lose to the team from the other game in the AFC Championship.
Well,
because I think they'll just, as you say, they'll batter each other in this game.
Yeah, it's a fair point. But yeah, I will take the Titans just because I feel like riding that wave. Jim, you don't want to pick any of these?
I mean, I'll pick the Chiefs over the Texans, but that Titans-Ravens game is...
Join me on the Titans bus.
I'm going to join you on the Titans bus. Just for shits and
giggles. It could be a very short trip.
Yeah.
50-50. Nice. So over in the NFC, we were treated to round 2 of the Minneapolis versus New Orleans grudge match. And this one went to overtime before a victor was declared. And once again, in controversial circumstances, the Vikings came out on top.
Ain't that controversial?
It wasn't that controversial.
It wasn't that controversial.
Agreed. So that was my first place I wanted to get to. There seemed to be a lot of people up in arms about this push-off, and it really wasn't a push-off.
Are they all in New Orleans?
Well, there was a lot of dissenting voices on the TV post-game about whether or not, and it really wasn't.
No, I mean, he did have his hand on him. He did push him away, but there's 6 of one after.
There's a difference between a push-off and pass interference.
Yeah.
Especially in a playoff game. You cannot give that as pass interference.
No.
You just can't.
You can't take the physicality.
It's just a non-contact sport if you do that.
Yeah, exactly. So
move on. So we'll move on. Firstly, credit to Kirk Cousins because, and let's not get this wrong, Kirk Cousins is the new Phillip Rivers. He can be brilliant and he can win you games, but at some point he is going to choke. He didn't choke in this game. He did enough to get them down the field.
We like that.
He rode the Dalvin Cook wave.
Nice.
His poor wife.
He didn't have
she doesn't
Dalvin
know
Cook
what she's
in the
got
second
inside.
half, did he?
Sorry,
He didn't really have Dalvin. Dalvin Cook was there, but Dalvin Cook started the first half with 84 rushing yards.
That's right. I was trying to think what the number was,
and then
had -2.
Ended it with 82.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't really have the rushing game to go on, but the whole offense was stagnant. But I was really disappointed in the Saints.
Yeah.
Another.
You remember this time last year? Well, not quite this time last year, but towards the end of the season, we were saying Drew Brees doesn't look like Drew Brees. Drew Brees did not look like Drew Brees in that game.
No, he did not.
His complete inability to throw a long ball, he completely underthrew it when he was intercepted.
Yep.
You know,
the longest pass of the day was the 50-yard pass from Taysom Hill.
The biggest reason why Michael Thomas got 149 catches through the year was because he's brilliant, but also because all the pass plays were very, very short, so they're having to play a lot of pass plays, and he's getting a lot of catches because he's the main wide receiver.
Last year, at this time, they were telling us that the problem with Drew Brees was fatigue. He's an older player. The arm gets tired as the season goes on. This is what used to happen to Peyton Manning. The thing with this year is he missed 6 games. He had rest.
Yeah.
And still the fatigue is there in the arm. Look, you can still win a Super Bowl. Same as I said with Brady. You can still win a Super Bowl with Drew Brees. But if you get into any form of shootout, if you are playing from behind, you are in trouble. You know, the Saints in their playoff history have only won 1 game when they've been trailing at halftime.
Oh, but I mean, as a franchise, they suck. Their history is terrible.
Yeah, but they've been to the playoffs on 11 occasions.
Yeah, how many times of that was with Drew Brees?
Most of them, but still, trailing at halftime, the only game they've ever won in the playoffs was when they beat the Colts in the Super Bowl.
Do you know, I think the thing for me is, you've mentioned that thing with Drew Brees, and I think it's a similar reason. He's had the 6 games of rest while he recovered from a
thumb injury.
Yeah. The central piece of it's a bit like Brady. He's old as fuck.
At least Brees has got Thomas. But
Yeah,
if you take away Thomas,
he's got
it's
Thomas
Ted
and
Ginn.
Kamara, but that's actually it.
Yeah.
Like, again, there's not a lot around him. And when you think about the Patriots gave up a second for Mohamed Sanu, Emmanuel Sanders going to the 49ers for a third. The Saints could have picked him up. The Patriots could have picked him up. wide, and Emmanuel Sanders in that Saints offense probably would have been amazing.
I mean, Des Bryant was there
Well,
last season.
yeah,
Just
exactly.
imagine if Des Bryant was half the player he was and was there.
Well, even if he's just every so often just taking one player off Michael Thomas,
I mean, if you look down the receiving figures, Michael Thomas 7 receptions for 70 yards, Deontay Harris 1 reception for 50 yards. Other than that, you've got Jared
Taysom
Cook
Hill.
had 5, Kamara had 8, Taysom Hill had 2, Latavius Murray had 1, and Ted Ginn Jr. had 1. So Deontay Harris and Ted Ginn Jr., the other wide receivers, they had 2 catches between them. That's
nothing.
But
Yeah.
this is a team that was celebrating the wide receiver Keith Kirkwood at some point.
last year, wasn't it? Yeah.
Likelihood of Breeze not playing next season?
Well, this
I'd like him to finish.
Yeah, I would as well.
I think it'd be better for Brady and Breeze both and Rivers just ride off into the
And
sunset. now.
Roethlisberger.
and Eli.
And Eli, yeah, just
It's the
all.
end of an
I
era.
don't think Roethlisberger's necessarily done. He hasn't played this season. I think that's different.
But you think about it, if he's had time to rest, he looked like a thumb before he left. What's he going to look like when he comes back?
I still think
He looks
Roethlisberger.
he looks like a homeless guy on the
Roethlisberger's
sideline.
still capable of winning games and elevating players. None of the others mentioned are now able to elevate other parts of their teams. They all rely on being in a system that helps them, as opposed to the other way around.
Nobody can elevate Roethlisberger. He's big as fuck.
Are you?
I want to have an NFL Network show of Eli, Brady, Breeze, Rivers, all just driving around in Rivers' van, just chatting shit.
Shit.
Yeah, just
flashing their Super Bowl rings, except
Exactly.
Rivers, who has to drive because he hasn't got any. Just looking sad in the front.
before eventually in week 6 he just drives it off a bridge.
I think the thing with the Saints is you can't tell me that they wouldn't have been in exactly the same place and equally capable of winning this game if they were down to Bridgewater and Hill and Breeze had never played this season. It would be the same.
They look so
Bridgewater.
much more vibrant with Bridgewater under centre.
Bridgewater, he went, what was it, 5-0?
Yeah.
And as soon as Breeze got back, he was gone. There was no point in this match that you thought Breeze was going to be taken out for Bridgewater.
No.
I think he came out for Taysom Hill, but Taysom Hill's a gadget player at the end of the day. People are expecting him to do gadget plays.
And he does, and it was amazing.
And he does some amazing plays, and he was brilliant to watch. Great fun, great entertainment. But at no point did anyone think Bridgewater was going to come on. So the question there, if Breeze is going to go, which of the two backups does Sean Payton sign? Does he give Taysom Hill a proper chance at quarterback? And if he does, it takes away all the gadget plays which Taysom Hill
No,
has.
it'll be Bridgewater.
Yeah.
It'll be Bridgewater, and Hill will come in for the same things he does now. I mean, I've said before, I'd love to see Taysom Hill play an entire game of quarterback just so we can see what he can do.
Yeah.
But it may be that he can't do anything. He's very limited to the things that he does do, and he just does them very well.
I mean, the fact that Payton compared Taysom Hill to Steve Young early in the season, it's Hall of Famer Steve Young.
Yeah.
One of the best passes the league's ever seen, won a Super Bowl in '94 with the 49ers. If he is genuinely as good as Steve Young, then give him a season just to see if he is
First
that
quarterback in the Super Bowl era with 2 receiving touchdowns in postseasons. Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
He's he's basically a special teams player playing all the time.
Yeah.
Just in all the different roles. Because did he not in this game as well have rushing?
good. He was the lead blocker for Kamara's
Yeah, and I was going to say, he blocked for a rushing touchdown, and then on the ensuing kickoff, he was running down the field to block the return.
He was there, yeah.
And you just think, that's the kind of player you want in your team, but not necessarily. He can't play all those roles if he's your starting quarterback.
Yeah, he can only play one role if he's your starting quarterback.
Absolutely. So that would then detract from other things that they do.
Anyway, we're talking about the negatives. Can we talk about the positives of the Vikings again? Because
The defense was
The
brilliant.
defensive
was
line.
incredible. Like there's that offensive line of the Saints has been lauded through the season. They were hyping it up going into this match, and Danielle Hunter and Everson Griffin just tore it apart. Like,
Yeah, Breeze was only sacked 3 times, wasn't he?
yeah, but they were getting to him
3 times, I think.
Yeah, it was
maybe,
3 times.
Yeah, he was sacked 3 times, but
It's the pressure.
The pressure was incredible.
Yeah.
Just breaking through every time. Look, the Vikings have done a really good job. I like Wildcard weekend when wildcards get through. I didn't think this was the wild card that would make it through, but I like it.
I don't think anyone thought it would be as well.
And, like I said, like I started this section with, Kirk Cousins deserves credit because it's paid off. He does not have the wild inconsistent swings that some of the other, like I said with Phillip Rivers, that's a wild inconsistency. It's a much shallower curve for Kirk Cousins.
No one can see your hand, actually.
I mean,
But it's no, that's very true.
on the journey here, I said something to John, and you won't see this as a positive when I say this to begin with. Kirk Cousins for me is Alex Smith.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfectly good
Brilliant, yeah.
analogy. He is exactly like that.
He's not going to inspire your team to win games, but he ain't going to lose your games.
Well, he shouldn't lose you games. There are one or two Alex Smith style players, and I think because of the way teams can be so creative on offense now, an Alex Smith who won't lose you games is more valuable now than it had been for a while.
Yeah. And, the pass right at the end to
Adam Thielen. Brilliant.
What a dime ball that was. That was the best pass of the season from Kirk Cousins in a pressure situation. This game went all the way to overtime. The Vikings got the ball and they said, this is what we are going to do. Try and stop us. That's a perfectly fine way of doing it. I like the fact that they'd already committed to keeping Mike Zimmer. I think he's been a very good coach with this team. And there's no reason to think there'll be anything other than competitive again next season as well.
This is now a Mike Zimmer team, isn't it? It's led by its defense and it's got a good running game. This is what Zimmer's wanted for a couple of seasons. They finally got that running back who can get you 100, 150 yards most weeks. Dalvin Cook, he had 94 yards off 28 carries, 2 touchdowns, and that offensive line probably just not season. But again, irrespective of what happens to the rest of the season, I think the Vikings are going to be good again next year.
But you look at what's come in. Garrett Bradbury has been phenomenal.
Yeah, brilliant.
I saw it a little bit like that point I made earlier with the Texans. People, especially after the games, like, the Saints lost it. This is a really, really good Vikings team.
Yeah.
They have decent quality in nearly every position.
Can I mention Diggs?
You got to take a dig at Diggs.
Well,
He was being a bit of a...
I think
He was being a dick, is what he was doing.
Yeah, and actually, there was a point where I thought they're going to lose this because...
They're going to try and force the ball.
They were... Cousins was trying to force
How
the
many
ball.
receptions did he end up with in the end?
Diggs had 2 for 8 yards. He also had... No, sorry, that's rushing. 2 rushes for 8 yards. But 2 receptions for 19 yards.
They were forcing the ball to him because he was being petulant.
Yeah.
And he could have cost them the game because his attitude stinks.
He went to Kirk Cousins, didn't he, as they were walking off after a 3 and out or whatever, and basically said, why aren't you giving me the ball? And Cousins' response should be, you're not open.
Yeah.
I will throw you the ball when you're open, because he wasn't. You don't just get the ball given to you. That isn't how it works. So, look, Thielen and Diggs are a great 1-2 receiver combo, but Diggs is in danger of losing himself a comfortable job by being a child.
Yeah.
I mean, between the two of them, if you have to pay one and get rid of the
You're
other,
paying
you're
Thielen.
paying
You're paying
Thielen because
Thielen.
he's a team player, and he's also had better numbers than Diggs over the last couple of years. I feel he's just been a better wide receiver,
And he's not a tosser.
and he's not a tosser.
Diggs, I think, probably at the moment is acting like someone who should be playing for Cleveland.
Oh, yes. He would definitely fit in well there.
He would fit in well at Cleveland, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, it was just
What they
something I
need is
noticed.
more wide receivers.
But yeah, it was annoying me. But let's move on to the final game, the Seahawks and the Eagles. Seahawks 17, Eagles 9. Who wants to be the first to mention the hit on the head?
The great tackle from Jadeveon Clowney.
Oh, it wasn't a great
No,
tackle.
it
He was
wasn't a
going
great
down
tackle.
already.
It was I think you'll find that I've even put it in here. It should have been at least a penalty, if not an ejection. In the now we all know I don't like this, but in the modern game, that is an ejection. He lowered the head deliberately to initiate contact. I like Jadeveon Clowney. I think he's a really good tackle. I think he's a scary player to face. This was a dirty tackle.
Yeah.
My concern is not that. Okay, the officials missed it. It's frustrating. Maybe somebody should have said to them that's an ejection or whatever.
I think most people missed it as well. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was only when Carson Wentz was going off injured that the TV replays kind of went back to find it.
Here's the thing, though. Carson Wentz is too brittle.
I know you can't.
No,
I don't
not-
think
not
you
for
can't.
concussion.
I tell
you
say
can't.
on
You can't
concussions.
I
blame
can. I'll
that
tell you
on
why.
him.
Because I think
Are you
Carson
saying-
Wentz is a bottler.
Are you saying a less injury-prone player or a player.
Carson Wentz the bottler.
You can't stop someone falling on your head.
Guy took a hit to the head. Of course he had to go
having
off.
seen it in slow-mo, I still didn't think it was that bad. It was a bad tackle, but the actual
This wasn't even
force
his
of
decision.
the blow wasn't that bad.
This wasn't even his or even the Eagles' decision to keep him out. This was a medical.
So I understand the process because I went and looked it up. But if you don't give the correct answers, they will take you out of the game. And I think there's every chance that Carson Wentz just didn't fancy it.
No, I think that's bullshit.
Because I've not yet seen anything from Carson Wentz that makes me think he isn't anything other than a bottler.
I'd say
he takes too long out with injury. He doesn't play through the injuries enough.
The last 4 games of the regular season, Carson Wentz got the Eagles to the playoffs.
Carson Wentz's quarterbacking is brilliant.
Yeah.
The heart, the something, it just isn't in it. I just don't rate him as a player that gives 100%. As a quarterback, he's really, really good. There is something missing. He's too injury prone. I just think maybe he doesn't want to play through the injuries like some players do. There's something not quite right.
It was a concussion. You can't play. You shouldn't play for a concussion. We don't know what sort of condition he was in when he was in the blue tent and then off into the change room. We don't know if he could see straight, if he actually knew what day of the week it was.
If it comes out that he wouldn't have been able to play next week, I will consider retracting the allegation.
We're never going to know.
No, probably not. But I didn't think it was that bad, and I just think if somebody said to him this, that, and the other, what are the answers to these questions, whatever the questions are that they ask, he would know the right answers and the wrong answers. And I just think he's the sort of player who would go, it's not on me. It's fine. I'll just take the game out. I think there's something, and that might be what's missing from him. I just don't see it in him. He's always injured, and yet it always looks very innocuous.
He's had 2 bad injuries.
Bucky's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but other players...
And an ACL.
Other players... The ACL is one thing, but other players have played with awful back injuries and things. Look at Romo, did it every week. You got more heart out of Tony Romo than you ever get out of Carson Wentz.
He retired at 34.
And didn't win a Super Bowl.
And Carson Wentz has been on a Super Bowl winning team that didn't win it with him.
He pretty much got them to the playoffs, though.
Yes.
He was
MVP. He was an MVP that year.
And so this is what I'm saying. His quarterbacking is brilliant.
But he took the horse to water, and all Nick Foles did is go, "Can you drink that?"
Nick Foles, who, by the way, didn't win a single game this year. I meant to point that out.
Yeah.
Had I been here last week, I would have pointed that out. Yeah, I understand. And I knew it was going to be something that you'd all jump on. As soon as it's a bit like when we watched Brandon Cooks, and we heard the hit in London, and we all went, well, that's the end of the game for that. As soon as you saw Wentz get hit, you knew it was the end of the game. You didn't need a blue tent evaluation. You knew it was the end of his game.
Yeah, but...
Because
I don't know.
that's the sort of player he is.
I take your point that he has had injuries in the past. Yeah.
He's physically brittle, and I just think there's another weakness there.
I think a concussion is a completely different ball game.
It's just an injury.
It's different.
It's
different an injury. It's
just an injury.
No,
it's a brain injury. It's an injury.
Yeah, but it's an injury that's caused the NFL a lot of issues.
A lot of money as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And perception and kids playing the game or not playing the game because the parents are scared that they're going to commit suicide in 30, 40, 50 years' time.
Go full junior Cy-out.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand, but ultimately it's still just an injury. If it was called a brain injury as opposed to a concussion, we'd all be used to calling it an injury.
I feel it's harsh to say he's a bottler based on the fact he got his face.
It's not based on this
stung
one
game.
It's not based on this one game. You just knew when they went off that he's not coming back, but the injury itself didn't look that bad. It was just a hit.
Can I also mention something? They played for what 3.5 quarters with Josh McCown,
who was really good.
He's fine.
Yeah.
He's Josh McCown.
Another 40-year-old quarterback.
The Seahawks won by 8 points.
Yeah,
but this has been the Seahawks all year. Like they've not been in any of their. I can't think of any victory they've had this year.
They had one game that wasn't a one-score.
Yeah. They remind me of Pittsburgh 2 years ago, who play down, they play up. I think I think we've reached their limit because they are not great. They are not a good team.
Do you remember when the 49ers had Beat Hard at quarterback?
Yes. Yeah. Of course we do.
And they started the season with podcast favourite Brian Hoyer.
Yeah.
And the season you traded for Jimmy G, you'd lose every game by like a field goal.
Yeah.
They're like the reverse 49ers from that season.
That's exactly it. You look at some of their...
That sounds dodgy, a reverse 49er. That just sounds like something you find in a book.
Something, ironically, you'd get in San Francisco.
Yeah, but probably so.
It was week 1. They narrowly beat the Bengals.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, this Bengals team looks decent, doesn't it? And in week 2, the 49ers actually whitewashed the Bengals, and the Bengals went on to have the season they went on to have. But it's been the same with the Seahawks. Their victories are all by one score, normally not even by a touchdown. Normally it's by less. They don't look convincing. The running game is now shot to shit. People lauding Marshall Lynch coming back, 6 carries, 7 yards. Yes, he got a good touchdown.
The touchdown was good. Everything else was terrible. And now they're already saying he will get more work next week. And you're like,
the leading rusher was Russell Wilson, 45 yards off 9 carries. Russell
Russell Wilson carries was for
amazing.
22 yards.
Russell Wilson was brilliant in this game. The rest of the team.
This season, I never really liked Russell Wilson. I think he's a bit of a dick. The interview afterwards, he's like, shut up, go Hawks. Fuck
Go
you.
Hawks every time.
But this season, he's been absolutely immense. I can't... Even the game where the 49ers beat Seattle, he was the one player gee, stop running past him, get him. But he does it to every single team. He steps up into the pocket, has another look, and then chooses to run or pass. And he normally makes the pass. He's been absolutely awesome.
He has, and he is the reason why the Seahawks can beat any of the other teams that are left.
Yeah.
Because he is of the 4 quarterbacks that are left, he is the best one in the NFC now. Yeah. He is better than not quite as good as he used to be Aaron Rodgers, than don't know what you're going to get every week Kirk Cousins, and he is better than still going on the up Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, definitely.
So Russell Wilson could win this for the Seahawks all the way through.
I would say he doesn't.
I'm going to say he doesn't as well.
But I'm just saying, he's
a very
making
valid point.
DK Metcalf, a bodybuilder who runs straight lines, look really good.
I'm sorry, but
that, by the way, was a great what was that? Was it 4? No, was it 4th and 2 or 3 and 3rd and 2?
Yeah.
And instead of going, they could have
sake.
just gone for 1 or 2 yards and then punted it. They went all out and just pinged it down the field.
with
He's a
DK
monster.
Metcalf, he was a second round draft pick. He was one of the top wide receivers taken in the draft.
Yeah.
Why are people surprised? He was very good
Because he can't run routes.
Doesn't matter. He'll run through you.
Yeah.
Give him the ball.
Like I say, bodybuilder in a straight line.
Yeah.
Brilliant player.
The Patriots could have taken him.
And we should have. No. I'm not saying he's not good, but what I'm saying is Russell Wilson makes him look like a really good player, when actually he's just a good player.
I will say, as well, this year I've just noticed how good Tyler Lockett is, because it's him that makes up for the complete lack of O-line in Seattle, because he keeps the plays alive, and the fact that Russell Wilson is still running around and doing Russell Wilson things, it's Lockett keeping that alive, and he's been brilliant.
Yep, he has. Couldn't agree more. Russell Wilson trading only Tom Brady in postseason passing touchdowns since 2012 now.
Just imagine if they had Doug Baldwin
Quite a
still.
long way though, right?
I don't know.
Just imagine Doug Baldwin still being there.
Well, I mean, if they had Doug Baldwin, would they have drafted DK Metcalf?
Probably not, but
it's a fair point.
I love Doug Baldwin.
McCown was the 4th quarterback to play a wildcard weekend game at 40-plus years of age. Do you want to name the other 3?
Brett Favre.
No.
Doug Flutie.
No.
Vinny Testaverde.
Yes.
Sporkle favourite.
Sorry, I missed that. I was looking at something
there are 4 quarterbacks in their 40s who've played on wildcard weekend. One is Josh McCown.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, making his postseason debut. Never played in the postseason before. One of them is Vinny Testaverde. Who are the other 2? If you don't get it, you deserve to kick yourself.
Jay Montana?
Nope.
Rich Gannon.
No, honestly, I mean, seriously, it's not that hard.
Tom Brady.
Thomas Brady.
Yeah.
And
Drew Brees.
Yes, thank you very much. Christ almighty.
Those guys. So I get the really hard.
You got Vinny Testaverde.
not the guy who spoke about 20 minutes ago.
And then looked at me like I was making it up. Christ almighty. Yeah, so 3 of the 4 players to play wildcard weekend in their 40s played this weekend.
God.
That just tells you that it's impressive that they've got there, but it's coming to an end.
Yeah.
How good was Vinny Testaverde?
No, Vinny Testaverde wasn't.
Terrible.
He was Fitzmagic before Fitzmagic. He just went around to all the different teams that would have him because they got no one else.
So should we talk about this coming weekend? It's Vikings at 49ers, Hawks at Packers. Who's going through?
I'm going to say that the Vikings beat the 49ers.
I'm going to disagree with you.
I'm going to disagree with you as well.
I'm going to disagree with you there.
I want to be
49ers.
controversial. I think
This is the Kirk Cousins back to earth week with
Well,
it.
this is also like they've had a row. You know, think about their travel from Minnesota. They've had to travel down to New Orleans, back to Minnesota to get home. Now a 1,700-mile trip over to the West Coast to play the 49ers team, who have had a nice week off. They needed that week off, but the 49ers are getting just Tart back. Jaquiski Tart, I can never pronounce his first name. Quan Alexander's apparently going to be back, and D Ford's going to be back. That's now.
Yeah, but
your defense
ain't that great anyway, is it? Let's be fair.
I think the 49ers will win that. No, it won't be an easy game, but it could be.
No game.
It's the
should be.
49ers as well. They'll win by a score.
They should win, and it should be bordering uncomfortable. The other game, I really don't know.
I think
don't
Packers
know.
as well. I think to our point earlier, the one-score games are going to run out for the Seahawks now.
You'd think.
I'm going to go with the Seahawks because I just want to be the other voice. I want to be that guy.
I'm going to join Paul on the Seahawks bus.
I will actually back it up with other than I want to be contrarian. The Packers haven't.
The Packers
been
went
that great.
13-3 and weren't outstanding at any point, but were more than good enough. And they could easily roll the Seahawks. It feels very Packers-esque to go into the postseason red hot and then balls it up. Just how many times have we seen them do it? And where is Duncan going to be watching the game this weekend? Because I would like to be sitting with him when this happens. It's the late game, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the late game.
Oh, yeah, it is the late game. Late Sunday night.
I'm sure if Duncan is listening, and he does, maybe he could just invite us all round. We could sit there and just laugh at him.
Yeah. Or
Because we've sat with him before when they've thrown games away, like first play of overtime.
Should we invite him to Newport Packnell?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take him there.
You know, you can get those celebrity endorsements, like celebrities that say happy birthday.
Yeah.
Cameo.
We went through it earlier.
Does Dom Capers have one?
I'm not sure he's a big enough celebrity.
I don't know. Do you remember the list?
Well, yes, I do.
There's a long list.
Does anybody want to re-pick their Super Bowl winners following Wildcard weekend?
Well, I was talking to Gary about this over the weekend, and we were both. Gary was lamenting the fact that he picked New Orleans, and I was like, "Well, I picked Chicago at the start of the season."
Ouch.
So, I very much like to re-pick Chicago if I don't mind.
I think I picked the Saints and the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl.
And I'm going to pick the Chiefs.
I'm also going to take the Chiefs as they stand. Mainly because I've said the Titans could beat the Ravens. If I hadn't said that, I'd be picking the Ravens. But I still think it's coming out of the AFC.
I think it's coming out of the AFC this year.
I'm going to go with the Texans.
What?
I think they've got a great momentum, and I love Deshaun Watson.
But they can't game plan for a first half.
Yeah, but
Okay. Jim?
You
You want to take the 49ers, don't you?
So do, but I'm not going to.
Take
Let's
the
say the
49ers.
Chiefs.
By the way, I am looking forward to this playoff run now the Pats are running it. I love it so much when we eventually get locked out and I can just sit back and
No
enjoy
stress
it.
now.
Well, it's just, I can enjoy the game. It's fine.
I don't realise how much I hate the Patriots until Super Bowl night.
Yes, you've been quite vocal about how much you hate them on the various Super Bowl nights that we've been involved.
Not as much as Steve.
No, he was very rude about them all the way home.
Yeah,
You can still be rude about them, Steve. We'll let you.
yeah, come on. So away from the football now onto the Bills.
It's still football.
It's still football, but the behind-the-scenes part. So away from those successful teams.
It's a beautifully crafted script, I give it, but
I know.
it goes off every week.
I know.
I was reading it. I was like, that's a really good line. I like that.
I don't know why. Anyway,
But yeah, those that have already swung into action by firing their head coaches. Let's take a look at who's going where and what it means for the franchises in question. So Washington have already hired Ron Rivera, which mentioned last week.
Great hire.
It's a great hire, Ron
Yep.
Rivera. Also, I love the fact that technically he counts as fulfilling the Rooney rule.
Oh, does
because
he?
He's Hispanic.
Because he's Hispanic. So anyone who just went, we were gonna hire him, they sort of just immediately fulfilled the Rooney rule. Ron Rivera sitting there on his sun lounger. He is, I think that is the sort of no nonsense coach. I also think that he has the best chance of all the coaches we've seen of dragging in what's his name, Trent Williams.
Yeah.
Like the guy who said he will
Yeah.
never play for the Redskins. I think if someone like Ron Rivera turns up and says, "I've been to a Super Bowl, I want to go back and win one. I'm not the same guy that stitched you up with the tumor on the head. Like, I need you in this team." I think he commands enough respect to get a player to commit to playing for him.
Also, getting rid of Bruce Allen, the president and de facto GM, brilliant. And I think Rivera will have a bit more power than most of the new head coaches that are coming in now. I think he'll have power in terms of kind of scouting, but also who they're going to pick in the draft.
Whoever got him was going to get a great coach.
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, I mean, this is a coach that not too long ago had a 15-1 season and took his team to the Super Bowl. He can walk in as a proven winner with enough experience to turn around a team who have been historically pretty poor for the last 20 years.
Yeah. Of all the coaches that lost their jobs, he was the most unlucky.
I think he lost it because I think David Tepper, the owner at Carolina, he just wanted he wanted fresh faces, wanted to change. And I think that
and the Cam injury.
Yeah, Rivera had been there a long time. I think it's probably a good move for him as well.
Yeah,
agree more.
I agree as well. Cowboys, Garrett's
Finally gone.
Finally released him. Yeah. Technically, he's still under contract till next week.
Yeah.
But, he won't be coming back and coaching. And they have instead hired McCarthy.
Yes.
Now,
I was surprised about this one.
look, McCarthy's record in the NFC North is 125, 77 and 2 with the Packers, with Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. Can he get anywhere near the level of success that we're used to out of Dak Prescott and a team that basically is a run-first team? Bearing in mind, he never once ran a team that went better than 25th in rushing attempts when he was at Green Bay. Now, no, the reason for that is because he had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. But Dak Prescott isn't the same. So you're going to have to go the other way. You're going to have to be a run-first team, most likely. And that isn't his game.
But I think the lack of running in Green Bay wasn't down to him. It wasn't down to his game plan. I think that was more down to the fact that Ted Thompson could never pick a decent runner.
Yes.
They had Eddie
Lacy
for a season was good, and then ate some cheeseburgers and didn't stop.
Eddie Lacy.
Yeah.
But did he not get fired because he wasn't able to run an offense the way the modern game says you should run an offense?
I think he got fired because of Aaron Rodgers, personally.
Yes,
I also
possibly
think it's almost similar to Ron Rivera as well. I think they just ran out of ideas and ran out of patience with each other in Green Bay.
I think
they
sometimes
both
a
just
change.
needed a change.
Yeah.
I think it's good that he took a year off, and apparently from all the reports out there, he's taken a year off and he's kind of learned a bit more. There was always kind of a knock against him that he wasn't very analytically led. Apparently, he's started to improve that side of his game. The biggest surprise for me on this wasn't so much the different styles of game plan. My surprise in this was that I thought the Cowboys would hire a head coach who would almost be complicit to kind of whatever Jerry Jones would do. I don't think McCarthy's that type of guy.
Jerry Jones can't win a Super Bowl. He cannot, by interfering, win a Super Bowl. Jerry Jones has got 5 years left.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. He's going to interfere, and I don't think Mike McCarthy's the type of coach that wants the owner.
But do you not think somebody like Jerry Jones would respect the fact that someone like Mike McCarthy would walk in and say, "I want your job, and this is my CV, but if you're going to interfere weekly, I don't want your job."
Well,
I think that garners a lot of respect from someone like Jerry Jones.
Jimmy Johnson was the Super Bowl winning head coach there, who's a tosser, essentially, isn't he?
Yes.
He did what he wanted.
Yeah, but he won 2 Super Bowls.
And
then Jerry Jones fired him.
But I think he's at the point of short-term success. He's got somebody who's going to come in and do what they want.
The alternative was hire one of these young up-and-coming college coaches, and Jerry Jones doesn't have the time to wait to find a successful coach. He doesn't. Look, I'm not saying he's keeling over tomorrow, but how old is Jerry Jones? Pushing towards 80?
77.
Right. So let's
over
be
80.
realistic. He wants to see his team win another Super Bowl or two. You have to take an experienced coach.
Yeah.
You have to.
Either way, I think the first thing they need to do is, they've got, I think it's something like 27 of their starters or 27 of the team that are going into free agency.
Yeah.
The 2 key ones being Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper. They need to figure out what they're going to do there.
I think they've got to re-sign everybody. I think
they've definitely got to re-sign those 2, and then they've got to figure out how to fill out the holes.
The team as is very good. Jason Garrett was the weak link.
The roster is good enough to win the Super Bowl.
Yes, it is. So you sign as many of them as you can afford. You don't make massive sweeping changes, and you allow a better coach to see what he can do with this team. That is how you win as a
just go
Cowboy.
with Dak.
Because there is no way that the Cowboys should have missed out in the playoffs in that division.
Oh, God, no.
No.
Ah, Christ. The four of us could have probably won some games in that division. Just the four of us. Maybe with Duncan
Yeah.
blocking. The Giants finally got round to firing Pat Shermer as well.
Yeah, had about time.
Christ. What a terrible, terrible coach.
9-23.
That turned into Hugh Jackson-esque, didn't it?
Well,
Well, he's from Cleveland.
he just
so.
didn't get enough out of another talented roster. And it is talented. There are some good pieces. Now, I wrote here, because I wrote this yesterday, who's next? Bill Belichick. But it's not Bill Belichick.
Apparently not.
But it is a Patriots coach.
Yep. Is it
Joe
Josh
Judge.
McDaniel?
Joe Judge.
Is it Josh McDaniel?
No,
No, yeah.
it's
Oh.
Joe Judge, Patriots special teams coach and wide receivers coach. Now, I've only heard about him today, and he's on my team. But a lot of people are very impressed by his analytical approach, the fact that he spends all his time attached to Belichick, learning. He's been and done a teaching degree so that he's learned how to convey himself to classes and people. There are a lot of people saying really good things about him, like he might be the under-the-radar appointment. The Giants are in a long-term position because you've got your cheap quarterback for the next 4 years. You've got some really young wide receivers who look very good. And you've got Barkley on another 3 years of his rookie deal. So you've got time. You know, it's a different position to the Cowboys. You've got time to find success. Whether or not it's correct, I don't know how you analyse this because we don't know anything about the guy.
This hire reminds me of the Bengals hiring Zach Taylor last year, in that it's a young position coach who not many people really knew about until the hire was made, and he's from a good coaching tree.
Isn't it not like the John Harbaugh appointment? Like he was a special teams coach.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a special team. But it's the same where they've looked at Belichick. They probably know they're not going to get Josh McDaniels. All right, who else could we get from the Patriots to build the Patriot way? And this guy was apparently the next guy on the list. I'd never heard of him until this hire was made.
No.
But it's just impossible to analyse. We don't.
No.
You've got nothing. You just don't know. It's not even like a college coach. You can look at their record,
No,
which
just
we're
got
going
to
to do in a minute.
Got to give him time. Unfortunately, he's also got to work with Gettleman. That is the issue.
That's my biggest
Yeah.
issue on this. And
Yeah.
whereas the Redskins did well in terms of getting rid of Bruce Allen, I fully expect and I'm disappointed in the fact that the Giants didn't get rid of David Gettleman.
However, and I don't like to defend him, Daniel Jones looks like your quarterback for the next few years. If it pays off and you win
If he can
games,
stop fumbling the ball.
yes, rookie issues. However, if he progresses next season, it doesn't look like such a bad pick. Daniel
not
Jones
just-
was good.
Oh yeah, but it's not just the
He was
fact
good
that-
rookie.
It's not the fact that Barkley is obviously a generational talent. Jones looks like a good rookie. He's obliterated our defense.
Yep.
And for nothing.
Yeah,
He's given away
yeah.
players that we should have made picks for. He's just decimated
I always think with
good
Gettleman, it
defense.
feels like someone who's willing to throw loads of darts at the wall and hope that some stick.
He's an old school type
Yeah.
GM, I'm not a big fan.
I think let's see where we are at the end of next season. Because for me, you've just got to
I wonder
give this guy time.
But
Yeah,
I wonder
I think
what we'll do with
definitely-
our fourth pick.
Definitely give the coach time. That draft, the draft's going to be really interesting with Tua Tagovailoa definitely coming out into the draft now. In that the first two picks kind of write themselves in terms of it's Joe Burrows and it's Chase Young, and anything else, that's just ridiculous. With the Lions and the Giants at third and fourth, they've got to be taking calls from Miami or any other quarterback needy team to trade up.
The Patriots.
Potentially.
Patriots calling up Matt Patricia at the Lions and saying, "What do you want?"
Hey.
they haven't got much draft capital to trade back now. They've got a second round pick.
But it's Detroit. You could offer them any old
But-
shitty linebacker, and they'll
Yeah.
be okay.
So
they play for New England.
But the biggest
okay.
issue with that is Dave Gettleman has never traded back in the first round. Never. So, even with all those pieces on defense and all the pieces on the offensive line, which you need to fill, he's not going to trade back for extra capital.
So the Panthers,
Matt Rule.
Matt Rule from Baylor,
Yeah.
Baylor Bears. Now Matt Rule took over a Baylor team that went 1-11 and followed it up with 11-1, or
Well,
10-2.
Yeah, there
and
was
then
a
11-1.
season in between, but
Yes.
another good year this year.
So he has absolutely turned that team around.
He's the guy you want at the wheel if he's 10 and 2.
And previously, he worked at Temple, didn't he, before Baylor?
Yes.
So I've just got that.
That's good. He worked at Temple, and Temple were also 1-11 when he took over, and he went 10-2 in his first season there.
He's got a stack of experience. He was an assistant offensive line coach for the Giants as well at one point. He's done a lot of different position coaching. He's been a quarterback coach. He's been an offensive line coach. He's been a defensive line coach. He's been an offensive coordinator, and he's been head coach at 2 college teams, which he's completely turned around and built up into good college teams. Yeah, Baylor are never going to compete with LSU, Alabama, Clemson, but they're a good team. And what he's come in to do in Carolina is to build a team, and that's going to be his main job. And there's questions about whether he's offensive or defensive minded. He's probably slightly offensive minded side, but he's there to build a team,
covering all bases.
Yeah,
I think it's a good solid hire. Somebody was going to get him. He was nailed on for coming in, and I think this is a really good bit of getting hold of somebody by the Panthers. What do they do about quarterback? I don't know.
Well, I think the first thing he has to do is sit down with Cam Newton and figure it out. Like a face-to-face. Do you want to play in Carolina? This is how I'm going to play. If you're happy with that, great. If not, we're gonna part ways.
He needs Cam on board.
How does the Chargers sound?
Yeah. How does a trip to Los Angeles?
You're right. He does need Cam. It'd be better to have Cam on board. But like we said earlier, there's a lot of quarterbacks who are going to be milling around the free agency this year.
Yeah. No, it's interesting times. Browns.
Woo!
So
they fired Freddie Kitchens.
Kitchens is gone.
And John Dorsey.
And John Dorsey's gone.
Absolutely. Had to be done.
I don't agree with that.
I know you don't. I've been looking forward to this bit.
I don't agree with them getting rid of Dorsey either.
I do. Bloke's a loose cannon. He just wants a yes man, which is why he said, we'll have Kitchens, please. There was a catastrophe waiting to happen. I said that before the season started. And I think that the ownership have got it right. I think John Dorsey is great at recruiting talent, but he's got an enormous ego. He's borderline cock behaviour at all times. He just is. And it didn't work.
I haven't got over the gum chewing from the Hard Knocks.
Yeah, just all the time. Look, he will go somewhere else and he will recruit and bring in brilliant talent. But bringing all that brilliant talent in, giving a coach that is just a yes man and no discipline didn't work. So you've got to change it.
Yeah.
Who's going to want this job?
Well, now with Dorsey gone, they've announced that they're going to hire a head coach first. Yep. And then they're going to bring in a GM type figure, which is the same thing which the 49ers do with Shanahan and Lynch, because they want a partnership working together, pointed in the same direction, which I think is actually pretty sensible. Who they bring in as coach is anyone's guess. They've got a long list of people that they have interviewed or are going to be interviewing. Kevin Stefanski, who's the offensive coordinator with the Vikings, Josh McDaniels, who we obviously know, who grew up in Cleveland. They've interviewed Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator at Kansas, Robert Saleh, defensive coordinator with 49ers, and they're interviewing Jim Schwartz, who's the defensive coordinator for the Eagles. I think Jim Schwartz would be the perfect coach to hire. He didn't have a great record at the Lions, I know that, but he's had 5 years as a defensive coordinator with the Eagles. He brings in a good offensive coordinator to work the offense, and he looks after the defense. He walks in there with a lot of respect in terms of he's won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, he's got head coaching experience, he knows how to build a team, and he's got the level of discipline which that team desperately needs to actually turn it around. I think that's the best, but if my money's on anyone, it's going to be Josh McDaniels.
My money's on Marvin Lewis.
God.
Marvin Lewis turned round an awful franchise and went to the playoffs 4 times in 6 years, 5 times in 7 years, something like that. That is exactly what the Browns now require. Someone to turn up and say, I've done this once. I've taken over a team far worse than you, and I've been successful. And I just isn't coaching. The Bengals have gone nowhere fast without Marvin Lewis, and he never really deserved to lose his job. No. And I just think...
the guy did bring in Hugh Jackson as their assistant head coach.
Yeah, Hugh Jackson's fine as an assistant anything.
Assistant to the head coach.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I just think Marvin Lewis should be in with a shout because he knows the division.
Yep.
And he's had this type of job before and shown that he can be successful.
I don't like he knows the division. That's how you end up with Adam Gase.
That's true. I can't argue with that. Adam Gase is an appalling coach.
I feel this team needs a win-now mentality, and Marvin Lewis will not give you that win-now mentality.
What makes you think it's a win-now team?
All those players on the roster.
Yeah.
But who says all those players will have to be there? Beckham's probably going to go.
I think with a new, if the coach comes in who Beckham approves of, which is ironic, he'll stay. Maybe if he brings in a coach. If he brings in a coaching structure, and suddenly the new coach gets all these other players on side, and they'll give him another shot. I mean, he's getting paid a lot of money, and he's surrounded by stars. Listen, that we said it at the start of the season. That roster, like the Cowboys, is potentially a Super Bowl winning roster. Maybe a few tweaks in the offensive line.
Just draft an O-line.
Yeah.
Just draft any offensive lineman. Anyone. Literally, a body.
Yeah. Nick Chubb's awesome. The wide receivers are awesome. The quarterback can be good on his day. He's had a bad second year.
Tight end good.
Tight end good. Defense all good, provided Myles Garrett comes back. They've got
Swinging his helmet.
Yeah, they've got skill and talent at every single level. You know, they've Denzel Washington. Denzel Ward.
Denzel Washington. Wow, that'd be an appointment.
I was thinking of that film, Remember the Titans, just because the coach from the original Remember the Titans died recently. Denzel Ward had a poor second season, but they bring in a coach who's defensively minded, like Jim Schwartz, who. Look at the Eagles team and what he's getting out of that Eagles defense at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway.
Wade Phillips, defensive coordinator of the Rams, was fired. He's 70 years old. And he's
contract not renewed.
Sorry, contract not renewed. His immediate tweet was, "Thanks very much. I feel I can still contribute somewhere else and I'd like to be allowed to do that." Feel he's going to resurface somewhere else. They've not been bad as a defensive unit.
Yeah.
The Rams didn't not get to the playoffs because of their defense. It was the O-line and Jared Goff going through a big blip. It was nothing to do with Wade Phillips. And Josh McDaniels, is he leaving, or is it more likely that Belichick says, "I'm off," and McDaniels gets the team?
I think he'll probably hang around in the hope that Belichick will go eventually.
I think he'll end up in Cleveland.
I think it's a Prince Charles and the Queen situation. He'll just keep staying there and he'll just die out eventually.
I think he's been promised the Patriots job, but he's only going to get one more chance in this league because he blew it in Denver.
He fucked over the Colts as well.
Yeah. And he fucked over the Colts. So he's got to be so careful about. And I'm not sure Cleveland is something you can tie yourself to if that's the position you're in. I just don't know if it is.
Okay. Well. That's all wrapped up for the Wildcard weekend. But this is our first show of the new decade. So I wanted to test your knowledge of the previous decade.
Bugger.
Yes.
That's right.
And that's...
Feel the enthusiasm for the quiz, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be a quiz.
Play along at home, people.
And Gary's back next week, possibly. So I thought I'd do a quiz when he's not around moaning about how he only sees the future.
He only looks to tomorrow.
Yeah. So, I have an envelope. I have two envelopes. In it
Two envelopes.
One of them is a year.
It's like
One
the
of them
Oscars, isn't it?
is a competition or so it'll be like offensive rookie of the year, Super Bowl winner, Super Bowl loser. I want you to try and work out who was or what was the Super Bowl, whoever you pick out for that year. So you're going to pick your year, then you're going to pick your category. So Paul, do you want to pick a year from the envelope?
This is good podcast material. This is picking stuff out of an envelope. Yeah.
So I have 2014.
Okay.
And you've forgotten how to use a microphone, apparently.
2014, Michael.
And then do you want to pick a category?
I've got one on the back.
Yeah, no, but can you pick it up? Put it down.
I don't know, John. I'm just doing what you're telling me to do.
This is
going
not
very
supposed to be
smoothly.
hard.
I suspect you should have explained the rules of this before we started.
So the 2014 Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. Can you work it out?
Christ.
That's a hard one.
That's what she said.
I
have no idea.
Anyone want to...
I'm going to... I mean, to be fair, I have been interrupted by the smell of dog fart. So I'm going to go with. I'm not sure if it's the year before, but I'm going to say Edward Lacey.
It is not Edward Lacey. Does anyone want to steal?
Steele, you say? Offensive Rookie of the Year 2014.
Jameis Winston.
He's still going now.
Yeah.
He's doing all right.
Not Jameis Winston.
Not Jameis. Oh, blimey. Is it a running back?
It is not a running back.
Oh, then I don't have
You know him.
foggiest.
You know him by 3 letters.
Beckham.
It's Beckham.
Ah,
So, no points for Paul. Michael.
yeah. You want to just pick one out for me?
Yeah,
no,
that'd be
pick
easier.
you.
You've got the.
I don't wanna pick-
I'll do it then. Okay, that's fine. I've
I think
got.
it's only fair if the dog farts when he picks.
I can still taste it. I've got
So you
2012 and Defensive Player of the Year 2012.
Yeah.
JJ Watt.
Yes.
Oh, I have no life.
So, do you want to pass that down to
It
Jim?
was about the only year he wasn't injured.
Yeah.
Michael takes an early lead, 1-0.
I've also got 2012.
Oh.
If it's the same one, we'll make a change.
It's not.
Super Bowl winner.
Oh,
There's harder ones, trust me.
again, that's what she says.
It's the Ravens.
It is the Ravens. So come on, Paul.
Bitter year that was.
So what you're telling me is at this point, I am losing.
You are one. It's 1-1 to
It's a
and
position
0.
you're familiar with.
So I have 2017.
Oh, come on
So
now.
quite recent.
Thanks, I know how years work.
Yeah.
And I have the most touchdowns in 2017.
Is that passing touchdowns? Rushing touchdowns?
Both. It's it's yeah. Who,
You mean as a team?
Yeah. No. As a player who had the most touchdowns.
Oh,
Not passing, receiving and rushing.
Antonio Brown.
no.
No.
Le'Veon Bell.
No.
Come on.
Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley.
Oh, yes, Jimothy. You haven't got a life either.
Michael, your second round.
Oh, yeah, excellent stuff. How many rounds are there?
Until we get to
The allotted time
the
of the
allotted time
podcast.
of the podcast. So
Oh,
we-
2015 and first pick of the draft 2015.
Who was
Bugger.
start of the season? Who was the first pick in the draft?
It's a quarterback.
It was.
Jameis Winston.
It's the other one.
Ah,
It was James.
So no, it wasn't.
I'm sure Jameis was number one. I was just thinking.
It was James Winston.
I dropped an extra one out there. Yeah, okay. That one should be in there. Hold on, we're just reorganising the envelopes. There you go, Jim.
All right.
Okay, so yeah.
2013. That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. That is frightening how long ago that is.
Offensive Player of the Year. 2013.
I will say this is all according to Wikipedia. So
Offensive Player of the Year 2013.
Good, because otherwise I was worried you'd made it up.
Aaron Rodgers.
no,
Tom Brady.
no.
Peyton
Russell
Manning.
Wilson.
Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning. Was that the year of the 50 touchdowns?
It was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
55 touchdowns.
wow. That was incredible. Let's
Yeah.
never forget how good that was, watching
Yeah.
him do that. That
Oh,
was
God, yeah.
ridiculous.
Remember Julius Thomas, the tight end?
I do remember Julius
Monster.
Thomas.
I have the most valuable player.
Okay. What year? What year?
Yeah. You went the wrong way.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's all building tension.
The MVP from 2012.
Oh, I think I know who that.
I'm going to say that was Aaron Rodgers.
You'd be wrong.
Jim?
Don't want to play anyway.
Was it quarterback?
It was not.
I was going to say Adrian Peterson.
It's Adrian
I was going to
Peterson.
say Joe Flacco. Right, okay. Was Joe Flacco the Super Bowl MVP that year?
Well,
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
he might be. I don't know.
Is that one of the questions? Well,
Stick your hand in my pouch, Michael.
well, said no one ever. Mainly because I spend my evenings doing podcasts about the NFL. Offensive Player of the Year in 2010. Oh, Jesus Christ. Phew.
That's a long time ago.
Aaron Rodgers.
No.
Oh, for God's sake. One of these... He was good once.
He was.
Is that Tom Brady?
It is Thomas Brady.
Oh, wow. Thomas Brady, the soon-to-be-retired future Hall of Fame Super Bowl winning Thomas Brady.
Right.
Well done.
We'll be
What we
saying
got
that.
here?
You'll be saying the same thing again in like 2023.
Offensive Rookie of the Year from 2011.
That was even longer ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ooh.
This player's probably not even playing anymore.
I don't think he is.
He is.
Who is he?
Well,
Bugger.
in a way,
In a way.
In a way,
you'll see.
he's dancing. Oh, okay.
RG3?
Nope.
Offensive Rookie of the Year.
That is Cam Newton.
Cam
Yeah.
Newton.
Number one draft pick that year.
And we'll
Well
go
done.
one more round.
Once more round. Go on, Paul. Go on. Use those fingers.
I mean, technically, we've got another 10 minutes if you want to keep going.
No,
But-
we're all
I'm
good.
happy to keep going, just purely because of the fact that
I
I'm
think you're
losing.
winning. No, you're winning.
Am I?
I think you might be tied with Jim at the top. I'm losing.
So I have the Offensive Rookie of the Year from 2016.
Oh.
Oh, that sucks. So I can go backwards. I can tell you who the two were after that.
No, we don't want to know.
Thanks.
We want to know who it was in 2016.
Was that Ezekiel Elliott?
No.
Oh, that was going to be my guess as well. Offensive Rookie of the Year 2016. Was
Is
it
it a
running
wide
back?
receiver?
It was not a wide receiver. It was not a running back.
Oh, blimey.
Quarterback?
You're quite close with Ezekiel Elliott.
Dak Prescott.
It's Dak Prescott.
Oh, okay.
Christ.
Wow. Hey, everything seems so long ago. MVP in... Oh, I've picked up two by mistake. 2018. Oh, that's one I should probably know then. And yet, I don't. MVP 2018. Oh. I will say this was... I haven't got a clue. I really don't know. I will go with Russell Wilson again.
Yay!
Was it?
No!
Then I don't know.
Pat Mahomes.
Pat Mahomes.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And to finish us off, Jim. It's funny that the still the recent ones you just go blank, don't you?
Not a clue.
Draft first pick in
If it's not a statistic, I probably don't know it.
2016.
Oh, yeah. Easy.
Oh, yeah, I know who that is. Yeah.
yeah, easy. Don't get this one wrong.
I'm going to get this one wrong.
No, you won't. But,
You'll kick yourself if you do.
I mean, the clock's ticking.
Oh, I've completely drawn a blank.
Go!
It was Jared Goff.
Just what you get there for Paul said it, basically.
I was hoping someone was going to pick out offensive player of the year in. Oh, sorry, my screen
Yeah,
because
yeah, in.
Yeah.
In.
Give us a year.
Come on.
1 second, my
Oh,
phone's now
Jesus.
going.
Dead air.
My phone's going mental. 2014. Do you remember who that was?
Offensive Player of the Year 2014. Is it somebody who's no longer in the league?
Yeah,
Antonio Brown.
Is that Eddie Lacy?
Ray
DeMarco
Rice.
Murray.
DeMarco
Good
Murray.
Lord.
That was the
Yeah,
year of
he-
all the rushing
Rushing
touchdowns with the Cowboys.
rushing
Yeah.
yards as well.
Yeah, and then he went to the Titans and just disappeared.
We went to the Eagles first.
Was it
didn't we?
Eagles? Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
And,
that did not work out well.
Yeah,
Didn't he retire at like 30?
It's pretty old for a running back.
Yeah, but not a running back who'd been that good.
yeah. No, he's still.
He hung
Had
around.
some-
hung around in Tennessee for a while.
But yeah, there were comeback player of the years. No one got picked out a comeback player of the year because I thought no one's going to get them. Who remembers a comeback player of the year? But yeah.
Pick a year, we'll see.
Pick a year.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because JJ Watt was one, wasn't he?
JJ, what was one?
2010.
Comeback Player of the Year 2010.
Chad Pennington.
Nope.
No, it was earlier than that for Chad Pennington after he came back from multiple arm surgeries.
He's the only person to win it twice.
He is the only person to try multiple arm surgeries.
You could call him the old Lamar Jackson.
Vic. Yes, when he
Vick.
came back from, being barking mad.
Dog fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have thought he'd win against the dog easily. He's
He
massive.
was great in that season, though.
Yeah. 2013.
Peyton Manning.
It was not Peyton Manning.
Oh, that's where I was going with that as well. 2013.
We've mentioned him today.
JJ Watt?
No, but
Drew Brees?
He's in a. I mean, he's on the bus with Drew Brees.
He's on the bus. Was it Philip Rivers?
It's Philip Rivers.
He's on the bus. He's driving the bus. He would have a bus for all his kids as well.
Exactly.
He could literally pick them all up.
Yeah.
Come on, old quarterback.
Plenty of
Let's go.
space, yeah.
So yeah,
It's proper changing of the guard there. Oh, well, thank you. That was good.
there you go. A test of our knowledge, and actually, you did better than I thought you would. But we'll be back.
She's never said that.
We'll be back next Tuesday with all the news from the divisional weekend. Catch us on social media. We're on Twitter at the Snap UK. We're on Facebook at the Snap UK. We have a website.
Website's back.
The website's back.
Whee.
So the website
The
is
Snap Podcast.
thesnappodcast.com. So get in touch, help us shape the show, etc. So from us, it's a good night, and we'll see you next week.
See you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.